Right. Welcome everyone to the December 4th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting. Just a few housekeeping items. Those of you who are wishing to make public comment, please approach the podium when your item comes up and press the button to identify yourself for the record. Please make sure your cell phones are either on vibrate or mute. And with that, I'll ask Jen to read the first item, please.
Item number 6, ordinance third reading, creating section 12.04.240, mobile storage containers on public right-of-way permit required of chapter 12.04, street sidewalks and driveways generally of title 12, street sidewalks and public places of the municipal code of the city of Cheyenne, Wyoming, and making a conforming amendment as specified.
Staff report.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, John Brody, Deputy City Attorney. Our office hasn't received any comment on the proposal since it was in front of council last Monday. There was a bit of confusion, I think, with the different versions of this proposal that were floating around. So just for the benefit of the committee and maybe the general public, I think the current version under consideration by the committee is dated October 6th, 2023. The only real material change that this accomplished was to incorporate roll-off dumpsters into the definition of mobile storage container. I'm happy to answer any questions. Our office did identify a possible amendment that the committee may want to consider. If you go on the second page of the October 6th proposal, at the top of the page under subparagraph 1 and 2, the last part of that sentence says from the date of the initial permit renewal expiration. Number 2 says from the date of the first permit renewal expiration. What this language unintentionally doesn't anticipate is that somebody potentially could have a house project, let's say in the month of March. They keep that project on time. It's over in less than 30 days. They then have another project, maybe their basement floods in August. As it's currently worded, that second permit, that permit would be tolling in May because it would run at the time of the first permit's expiration. So what our office would recommend is that you simply delete from the date of the initial permit renewal expiration, and then in the second one from the date of the first permit renewal expiration. And I believe it would still accomplish that purpose, the intended purpose, but allow for the flexibility of somebody that may have different projects that span the bookends of a summer, for example. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Certainly there was a substitute that was proposed in front of the council last Monday, and I believe that failed as a matter of procedure, but not substance. So happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, John. Questions for Mr. Brody? Hearing none. Comments from the public? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve on third and final reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to amend by substitute dated November 21st, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to amend by substitute. Comments from the public on the substitute? Hearing none. Comments from the committee? Mr. Roy.
Mr. Chair, this is the amendment that goes, sets it out 90 days. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Dr. Aldrich.
I would just like to note that there was some concern and consternation by our colleagues on the council about why this has been such a long process. And I just wanted to note that the delays that we experienced, the 2 extensions were not because of at the request of this committee. They were approved by this committee at the request of the engineer's office to allow for public comment. So while this has been a wieldy undertaking and task, I think that it needs to be noted that it hasn't been due to a lack of due diligence on the part of this committee or on the engineer's office. It's been an attempt to make sure that we heard from the people that were going to be most commonly affected.
Thank you for that, Dr. Aldrich. Duly noted. Other comments from the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor of the substitute, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No,
The substitute passes
Miss-
with Mr. Roybal as a no. We're back on the main motion as amended.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move to amend to strike from, I have to find the right page now. Page 2. The recommendation by Mr. Brody that removes the from the date of the first permit or from the initial permit renewal expiration on item number 1 under letter D. And also from the date of the first permit renewal expiration under number 2 under letter D.
It's been moved and seconded for to amend page 2 within paragraph D and also page 2 within paragraph D2. This is the amendment that's recommended by the attorney's office. I think this clarifies some language that was some of the members of the public were concerned about at the meeting of the last meeting of the governing body. Comments from the public on the amendment? Comments from the committee on the amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor of this amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. That amendment passes. We are back on the main motion as amended. Any other comments on this particular item with the 2 amendments? Hearing none, all those in favor of this ordinance as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. That item moves forward as amended. Next item, please, Jen.
Number 25, resolution authorizing a 3% cost of living salary adjustment for all permanent full and part-time employees for the city of Cheyenne.
Staff report. Mayor, will you be giving us the staff report on this item, sir?
I was trying to find my unmute button, sir.
It remains a problem for all of us. Go ahead, Mayor. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. For the record is Mayor Patrick Collins. When we did our budget last year, we talked about at the midpoint of the budget, if our finances were strong enough to look at trying to do a COLA of some sort. Our treasurer and I have met and talked about where we're at and where we think we're going to go over the next 6 months in our budget, and we believe that we can afford a COLA. The question is how much? And with our uncertain times in the future, we chose or I chose a 3% cost. It's not quite exactly what the total cost of living was for our area of Laramie County, but it's what we felt we could comfortably do without jeopardizing ourselves going into the future. And so I think it's important that as we can afford to, we do. And so my recommendation would be to ask you for a 3% COLA for all of our full-time and permanent part-time employees.
Thank you, Mayor. Questions for the mayor? Mr. Roybal.
Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Chairman, through you. Mr. Mayor, does this 3% COLA include both fire chief, police chief, and our directors?
I believe it does, sir. I believe all of our non-elected employees who are full-time and or not temporary part-time. I believe everybody's included except for elected officials who are by ordinance and our part-time employees who are not permanent.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any further questions?
And Mr. Chairman, if I could, I believe in our last negotiation with the fire union, we asked for a 2-year contract. And we said whatever we gave our employees, we would also give to the fire union personnel. So this typically would not include them, but because of that codicil, it does include them.
Understood. Thank you, Mayor, for that clarification. Anything?
I have a question.
Dr. Aldridge.
Chairman White, through you. I'm just curious then, the $526,094.31, which is a 6-month estimate from the general reserves, and the $167,409.83 from all other city funds, which brings it right at about $700,000, I think. I'm just curious as to, and that's for half of a year. Does that amount include the fire 3% COLA?
Mr. Chairman, through you, I believe it does, but our treasurer I know is sitting there and could also answer that, but I believe it does.
Robin Lockman, City Treasurer. It does include the fire.
Okay, so we're looking for a 1-year period. We're looking at about a $1.5 million investment.
It's 1.387 million.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Any further questions for the mayor or Robin? Hearing none. Hearing none, questions from the public. Hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
I would move to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. That item moves forward. Next item.
Number 26, resolution permitting the possession of open containers within the downtown district boundaries for New Year's Eve on December 31st of 2023.
Staff report. Welcome, President Johnson.
Thank you, Richard Johnson, Ward 3, Cheyenne City Council. For this resolution, I was approached by Visit Cheyenne for the New Year's Eve ball drop. Because under current city code, the open container law ends at 10 p.m. So this, per the, excuse me, I've been reading statute all day. Per city code, we would actually need an extension for those hours between 10 p.m. and 2 p.m. For the ball drop. And so I don't see Amber Treviso here from Visit Cheyenne, but I'm here for any questions in regards to this. It pretty much allows people to have open container during the ball drop in the plaza until 2 p.m. when the festivities end.
AM.
Hey, AM, you're correct. From 10 p.m. on December 31st to 2 a.m. on January 1st.
Thanks for that clarification, Richard. Questions for President Johnson?
That's what happens when you stay up all night.
Until 2 p.m. or 2 a.m.
Questions from the, comments from the public? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That resolution moves forward with Dr. Aldridge as a no. Next item, please.
Number 27F, minimum revenue guarantee payment agreement between the City of Cheyenne and the Cheyenne Regional Air Service Focus Team, CRAFT, for fiscal year ending June 30th of 2024.
Hello, Robin.
Hi, Robin Lockman, I can't talk. Robin Lockman, City Treasurer. Before you today is the annual contract between the City of Cheyenne and the Cheyenne Regional Air Service Focus Team to pay a portion of the annual minimum revenue guarantee for the current fiscal year. The city will pay up to $500,000 or 20% of the total cost. The remaining 80% is paid for by Laramie County, the state of Wyoming, the Economic Development Joint Powers Board, Cheyenne Leads, and private donors. And Wendy Volk is here in the audience if you have specific questions about the MRG. Thank you.
We'll go to Mr. Roybal for in a minute, but Robin, I had a question. So isn't the remainder also come from the 6 penny that was adopted?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it is coming since last year. It's been coming out of the 6 penny.
Just wanted
And
to
we,
get,
and we have spent out of the 6 penny, 424,000 so far, but we've collected 938,000. So
thank you. Just wanted to get that clarification on the record. Mr. Roybal?
And along those same lines, we spent 425, so we have 75,000 left from last year, say. Is it in a rollover account or it comes out of general funds or it comes out of 6 penny specific?
so Mr. Chairman, it comes out, it doesn't roll over. it's up to the $500,000. So that's for one contract year. So at the end of the year, that contract lapses and then we do a new contract.
So if there's anything left out of that year, what,
It'll just stay in the 6-penny fund and it'll extend the amount of time that we are able to keep paying for it out of the 6-penny fund.
Okay.
And then we'll go back to general funds when when
That's
those
it.
funds are extinguished, but it is earning interest and I mean, we've been doing pretty good. So.
okay, thank you. Dr. Aldrich.
Thank you, Chairman White. I just had a question. So my question was, this last year we did $420,000,
$424,000.
424,000 out of the 500,000 that we were committed to. And has the trajectory, I know we've had some years where the airport was closed, but has there ever been a year where the airport did not need this minimum revenue guarantee?
So I put together some numbers of what we paid through the years. So it started in fiscal year 19 and that was 515,000. In 2020, it was 333,000. In 21, we only paid 88,000 and I believe that was COVID. And then 22, we paid 204,000 and then last year the 424.
And I've heard that the flights in and out of Cheyenne are increasing and that we're anticipating that that's going to be higher this upcoming year. So are you, any projections or any crystal ball ideas about what we might be looking at, if that's going to continue to decline or I mean, at one point when we only did 300 or 204,000, I'm guessing that was adjusted because the airport was closed for part of that. But back in 2020, when it was 332,000, it just seems, I know we've only been operating since what, July or August this year? So September, okay. So we haven't had a lot. Although we had prior to them starting that work last spring, right? Like January, how many months have we actually been able to function out there?
You want to come try to answer that?
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Wendy Volk with Cheyenne Regional Air Focus Team, Mr. Chairman, through you, to answer Dr. Aldrich's question. So if you remember, the new airport opened in November of 2018. And so that was when we began the minimum revenue guarantee contract. That first year was the only year we completely spent all of the money of a minimum revenue guarantee. Then we had the unfortunate stop and start with the pandemic twice, and then the runway 3 times. So now we are up and running with a Class A, world-class facility. So we're excited about that. What the city's portion is capped for this fiscal year until June 30th of 2024 is $500,000. The state pays 60%, and then the other 40% has to be a local commitment. And that's what the city is, the 20% of that, the county. And then we have Visit Cheyenne. We also have Cheyenne Leads. And then we have the Joint Powers Economic Development is also contributing to that. So we have tried to continue to be a very good steward of the funds. So, most of those years we have not maxed out, except that first year when we were flying from Cheyenne to Dallas. We had everything up fully and running. Now we actually are seeing that people are enjoying flying again in and out of Cheyenne Airport. We need to continue on that trajectory, which we're encouraged by. The flights are 80% full. The flight is a 50-person plane. So there's 40-some people on the plane, if not full, during Thanksgiving, which was exciting. So we're continuing to improve that. We want to maintain that healthy relationship with SkyWest flying for United Express. And so we can encourage and recruit more airlines, more routes. And that's really where we are now. It's been 8 years of a process.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. Any other questions from the committee? Hearing none, comments from the public. Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I'd move to approve an amount not to exceed $500,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from the committee? I'll just say, if you've haven't used the flight out of Cheyenne and into Cheyenne, it is incredibly convenient and worth every penny to avoid driving to DIA. There are no other comments. All those in favor of the agreement, please signify, or yes, the minimum revenue guaranteed agreement, please signify by saying aye.
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 No one's opposed. That item moves forward. Next item, please.
Number 27G, professional services agreement between the city of Cheyenne and GSG Architecture Incorporated for the municipal building spatial analysis project.
Staff report.
Adele Bartel, Public Works Staff Engineer. GSG Architecture has proposed to complete a spatial analysis and report for the municipal building for $115,027. They'll be working with each department to evaluate the existing building layout, and they'll provide recommendations on either remodeling or rebuilding to optimize the layout and update it to more efficiently serve the public and improve safety.
Thank you. Just one quick question. Can you tell us what a spatial analysis is, please?
It is a technique used to determine if a specific area is adequate for certain activities. So it would basically just be updating the building. Since it was built in the 80s, it's probably a little outdated.
I think we can all say that the building's 43 years old and it's a lot outdated. Questions from the committee?
Yes, sir.
We'll go Dr. Aldridge, then Mr. Roybal. Dr. Aldridge?
Chairman White, through you. So as I was reading through this proposal, there are only really three activities that I saw: data gathering, data analyzing, and then the report. My question is, when they're doing the data gathering, I didn't see where that included, and it may just not have been delineated, any interviewing of employees or focus groups to hear from employees. I think that the way we're using our building has really changed post-COVID versus pre-COVID. And I'm curious as to whether it will include those focus groups in interviewing employees, and also whether it will take into account or make any recommendations about telework.
Mr. Chairman, through you.
Go ahead.
Yes, that's what we specified in our RFP, and that's what they have stated, that they will be working with each department and interviewing people and working with them to pretty much get what everyone wants and what's the most efficient for each department.
I do see where on the second bullet point of their proposal, it says the city of Cheyenne personnel and decision makers. I think, and my recommendation or suggestion would be that they make sure they talk to the people that are actually in the trenches, because I think sometimes we talk to decision makers, and I don't know how it works in the city, but I know how it works at the state, and the people that are those decision makers at the state don't always know what people really need that are in the trenches. So that would be my recommendation. Thank you.
Mr. Roybal?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, you may not have this at your fingertips, but have we ever done a spatial study? Because I know we've hacked this place up quite a bit.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I don't believe so.
Craig Lloyd, Deputy Public Works Director. In the past, we've done some internal ones. I think it was Teresa Moore might have done one. She had a background. She interviewed all the directors and I think kind of came back with a generic assumption that we just need a bigger building. So I would say it was kind of not really in depth like this project will be.
Okay. And this will go ahead and set up where certain spaces should be, or if we have any overages, any underages.
Through you, Chair. Yes, this study is going to tell which departments basically should be in here, which shouldn't be in here, who works together, who doesn't work together, not on a.
So we're not gonna end up like at Bain School with 3 modulars out front working out of those.
To you, Chair, no, it should evaluate, and it'll evaluate the structure of the building, the heating, and decide whether we need to be in here. There's some departments that may not flow and work. It should just be on their own somewhere else, but that doesn't mean that we'll be out of the building. It just means that there's a possibility that to cut down on the cost of this building and expanding it, we may look for other sites.
Okay.
That's all part of the recommendation. We're
Thank
open
you.
to anything.
Mr. Escabel? Okay. If there are no other questions from the committee, all those in favor of sorry. We do need a motion. We need public comment first. Comments from the public. Thanks for keeping me on track. Do I have a motion from the committee?
I would move to approve an amount not to exceed $115,027.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor of the professional services agreement, please signify by saying aye.
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 That item moves forward. Next item, please.
Number 27H, purchase and sale agreement for property located at 813 West 23rd Street for the Reed Avenue Corridor Project.
Staff report.
Good afternoon, West Bay Engineering. I have a memo here that I didn't get distributed. I'd like to hand it out to you guys so you can see where this property is.
It's the Mead lumber property just a couple blocks away, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The triangle. So before you is a purchase and sell agreement for the property located at 813 West 23rd. This is the Mead property. This property is going to be acquired for the Reed Avenue Rail Corridor project. And it's going to serve as the northern anchor point for the project. The primary goal for the Reed Avenue Rail Corridor project is the creation of a city corridor that promotes economic growth and vitality while increasing aesthetics in the Cheyenne West Edge area. The area will provide for the opportunity of mixed-use bicyclists and pedestrian traffic, facilitate downtown business development, and allow for the safe operation of a Class 1 railroad that runs through the corridor. I'm sure you're all familiar with the project. It's been around since 2017, 2018. So an appraisal was done on the project or on the property. It came back at $180,000 by Appraisals Incorporated. The funding will come from a 6-penny specific purpose sales use tax fund. The total agreed on price is $151,000, and I estimated very conservatively maybe up to $10,000 in closing costs. So a total of $161,000. I respectfully request your approval of this agreement, and I can stand for any questions.
Stand by, Wes. We'll go Mr. Roybal, then Dr. Aldridge.
Mr. Chair, Wesley, I was out there the other day. And they had two gates that I wondered what they were. Now I see that there's a right of way through the middle of there.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, there is an alley that extends between the two triangles. So the total parcel in the assessor is both of the triangles, but there is a public alley right of way.
And then the can man's right next to here. Will he be moving all his stuff off of our right of, or off the right of way?
Through you. Ideally, yes, but that's not part of this purchase agreement.
Okay,
So
okay.
as the corridor gets designed and progresses, we'll be asking for the right of way back. So.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Aldridge.
Chairman White, through you. I was curious about the appraisal, so thanks for addressing that. And if we can get a copy, that would be really helpful, I think.
Yeah.
I'm also guessing that on page 7 of the contract, the closing date's been left empty because we don't have a specific date yet. So that's just a placeholder.
That is correct.
And my last question that I had was if we do we believe that this property will still be useful to us with the changes going on with the agreement with the this is a Burlington Northern line, correct?
Through you, the Burlington Northern does head to the northwest. But that parcel is not railroad right of way or anything, so.
Okay.
That is part of the Reed project, but it isn't necessarily part of the negotiations with the railroad.
Because it looks like it partner or butts up against the right of way on the railroad.
Yes.
Is that not accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay, but this particular piece of property is not an integral part of what is planned for the Reed Avenue corridor.
Through you, Mr. It is an integral. It's gonna serve as the northern anchor of the project. The northern anchor will be this parcel. The southern anchor will be down south of Lincoln Way.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, I did have one. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You said that closing costs you estimate at $10,000, but what we've been asked to make a motion to is the price of $151,000. So if we make a motion for $151,000, that doesn't give you anything for closing cost. So
Yes.
what do you want us to do?
So typically, I believe that we've been writing the closing costs into the contracts, and I don't believe that it was written into this contract. So we could do an amended contract and bring it back with closing costs specified in the contract. And it would be a up to amount. It wouldn't be a set amount.
Just, I'm thinking that just seems like redundant. So I'm guessing we can amend this at this point to go up to $161,000, including closing cost. So, okay, thank you.
This is Patrick.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
For calling.
Yes.
Can you?
My name is Norman Manley. I am calling about your delivery.
Hopefully it's a good one. Okay, are there any other questions for Mr. Bay? Okay. Hearing none. Comments from the public? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve an amount not to exceed $161,000.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor of this purchase and sale agreement, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. That item moves forward. Next item.
Number 28A, contract modification number 1 to contract number 7770 between the City of Cheyenne and Z&Z Seal Coating Incorporated for additional material required for the 2023 Crack Seal number 1 project from 2019 to 2022 optional 1% sales tax fund.
Staff report.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Before you, as it was stated, this is a contract modification request for Z&Z Asphalt. This was our crack seal project this year, and we ran into some streets that had exceptionally large cracks. And instead of pushing those streets off and putting them on next year's project, we elected to do another 50,000 pounds of material and get them done this year. That also helped us, we saved a little bit of mobilization on that as well. Anyway, staff has reviewed this. And the request is for $90,667.16. And we respectfully request that you move forward with this contract one.
Thank you. And I think that that's probably a wise and efficient way of doing it. Questions for Doug?
What was his name?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you.
My apologies.
Doug Vaughn, City Construction Manager.
We all know you, but folks online may not. So my apologies, Doug. Any questions for Doug? Mr. Roybal.
Sure. Is this still warm enough to do that? Is the asphalt warm enough and the seal or?
It can be. I mean, not every day. You've got temperature limitations, but if you're above freezing, it'll work.
Okay, so did we do it in-house or was it a contractor that did it?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it was done through contractor.
And the contractor's still here?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, I pre-approved this to be done and I'm doing this change order after the fact because we were going to lose the opportunity to keep the contractor here who's out of state, and that's where we get our best pricing.
Good idea.
Comments from the public? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
I have moved to approve an amount not to exceed $90,667.16.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Doug?
I have one request for a small typo. There's an addendum we need to do here. On the actual contract document itself, this is my error. The contractor is listed as Z&Z Asphalt when actually it's Z&Z Seal Coating Incorporated. It appears correctly on the agenda, but I made a mistake on the contract itself.
Okay, can we get that noted, Jen? Great, thanks. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve an amount not to exceed $90,667.16 for a contract modification for Z&Z Seal Coating Inc. Any questions for Doug? And I knew you were gonna ask that. the old standby, so to speak. All those in favor of the contract modification, please signify by saying aye.
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 No one's opposed. That item moves forward. Next item, please.
Number 29A, consideration to purchase between the City of Cheyenne and Waddle Studios for the commission painting and puzzles projects.
Welcome, Lonnie. And I have to tell you, when I was reading this, I could not believe that we are already putting in planning to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States, which I can't believe is in 3 years, less than. But welcome, staff report, please.
Chair, through you to the committee, Lonnie Olson, Planning and Development. Before you is a consideration to purchase a commissioned art painting and some 6,000 puzzles by the Dowdle Studios. So what this would entail would be Eric Dowdle would come to town. He has done many puzzles. We have a few over here.
We have to put this together now.
Yeah, before the end of the meeting.
Good luck.
Hopefully you can. So what this would do, Eric Dowdle, the artist, would come to Cheyenne and we would pick a few must-have items. I believe it was 20 that represent the city of Cheyenne, and then he would create a art piece that then would be unveiled at, we're anticipating Super Day. So it's a big community event. So it'd be in June. And we would have then we would also purchase 6,000 puzzles that we'd be able to sell. And during the initial year of this whole contract, we would have the sole rights to it. So we would have be able to sell the puzzles, and they'd also be listed on his website. And with that, we would make all the profit of the puzzles, even on his site. So I believe that they're manufactured for $12.50 and sold for about $25. So we'd be able to receive all the $12.50 in supplemental cost. And we will have a perpetual license as well on the artwork to use. And staff does stand for questions.
How was it I'll follow up with my colleagues, but how was it chosen to have Mr. Dowdle do this?
Chair, through you to the committee. The Dowdle Studios reached out. They're part of their celebration of the 250th celebration of the United States is that they're working with various communities across all the states to make these puzzle pieces to have an initial celebration. And I also forgot to mention that we do have a representative from Dowdle Puzzles online if we do have questions for them.
Thank you. Questions for Lonnie?
I have so many.
Stand by, Lonnie. Dr. Aldrich.
Well, Chairman White, through you. So as I was reading through this, I had several questions. I guess my one question I saw where we could select individuals who we'd want to highlight, and that we would pay an extra $200 per person to have them in the design. I guess I find this really odd that we would be funding this, that this wouldn't be something that was being done through maybe Art Cheyenne, through the DDA, through Visit Cheyenne, through another entity than the city. I really struggled to watch us and see us being in the puzzle sales business. I did go to his website when I read through this packet and looked at the work that he's done and what he had advertised on his website. Why do we think we're the best avenue for this project?
Lonnie, before you answer, and I think you bring up several good questions, Dr. Aldrich. There was, my understanding is that there's also a committee that Governor Gordon just appointed with representatives from throughout the state who will be spearheading celebratory efforts for that 250th anniversary. So I was kind of curious why something like this didn't fall under that as well, but go ahead, Lonnie.
Chair, through you to answer Dr. Aldrich's first question about the people and the $200. So we have the opportunity to have up to 20 people. Any subsequent people, then that would cost $200 to add. So we have had, there's a few different departments that are coordinating this. Director Sanchez has reached out to Art Cheyenne in these various places, and it was really hard to get a commitment from those entities to move forward. I believe, is that correct? Yeah, the upfront cost is what made them hesitant about that. And so we also thought, as the city of Cheyenne, having too many hands picking would kind of create some issues ideally, and having us as a steer, like the head for this project, would probably be the best, rather than having all the various people pushing and pulling. We would like to include them in this selection process to make sure that we do have an accurate representation of Cheyenne in the puzzle, but ultimately this will give us like the final say. And then I don't know, with the Governor Gordon's 250th year task force, I don't know why they weren't included, or I don't know if the Dowdle Puzzle Company has reached out to them, but we just had the puzzle company reach out to us about this opportunity.
Thank you. Further questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a big supporter of art. I support a daughter who is an art teacher, financially and a lot of other ways as well. But I really struggle with the idea that we would be investing municipal funds to develop a puzzle and artwork that would be developed. And then we would be competing with local businesses to sell puzzles and what amounts to basically a souvenir, quite honestly. For those reasons, I appreciate all of your hard work on this, and I definitely understand the impetus behind it and the idea behind it. I just don't think we're the best candidate to pursue it. So for that reason, I'll be a no vote.
Thank you, Dr. Aldrich. Other questions for Lonnie?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I do have Charles Bloom, Director Bloom, who would like to speak if he can.
Go ahead, Charles.
And Chair, members of the committee, Charles Bloom, Planning and Development Director. We do have Mr. Dowdell here on the call, so I think it'd be great if we could have him explain how his typical contracts go with the different agencies they represent. This is not an uncommon request from our understanding, and we did look at different agencies that could possibly run this. And after all of our discussions, we thought us as the point was going to be best. And we can utilize those other ones to help with the sale of them. But if Mr. Dowdell could sort of explain a little bit more about how this works, I think that would be of great benefit to the committee.
I'm willing to allow Mr. Dowdell to make a few comments. Is he on, Jen?
Okay, so I will update, or I'm gonna upgrade them or allow them to talk. Sorry, that's not the name that they're under, so. So Kirk and Andy, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Can you hear us now?
We can.
Great, excellent. Actually, it's not Eric Dowdle. He is not here at the meeting. It's myself. My name is Kirk Nord. I'm a representative of the company, and I can answer some of those questions. Charles, thank you for the introduction. Lonnie, thank you for the description. Can everybody still hear me okay? My video went dark, so I'm assuming
we can still hear you. Go ahead.
Excellent. Okay, great. So yeah, as to the questions, I can't speak exactly to, the machinations of the different funding mechanisms that the state or the city has in place. That's something that you guys need to hash out. But really what this is it's a two-part piece. That you've got the art, which is in and of itself a traditional folk art piece that tells the stories of the community. It is not only an art piece, it's one of one original, which the city can keep. Most cities do, but the city can also auction it off if they so desire. But it's also a way to integrate all the different stories of the community into one painting and to allow people to consume those stories. And so it's not only a piece of art, but it's also a great marketing tool for the community. It's also a great advertising tool from a tourism standpoint. There's a lot of different interplay with this, more just as opposed to it just being a piece of art or a puzzle. The reason why we go into puzzles is because that is the way that consumers can consume the art. You know, traditionally, most people, when they go in front of a painting, they spend 15, 20 minutes in front of it trying to gather the story behind it. But with a puzzle, you're spending hours and hours of time learning about Cheyenne, learning about the stories of Cheyenne. And so that's the reason why we go to puzzles. Now, if cost is an issue, I mean, we're always happy to revisit the puzzle commitment. If the city doesn't want to do puzzles, we can just do the art commission. That's a separate and distinct fee from the puzzles themselves. But with the puzzles, the idea is that you can purchase the puzzles at wholesale cost. You have a year of exclusivity to sell as many puzzles as you want at any price point. Suggested retail is $24.99, but you can do any price point you want. And with the idea that the city would recoup their investment over the course of a year through the puzzle sales.
Thank you. Dr. Aldridge.
Chairman White, through you. So I'm looking at this proposal. I see that the original piece of art, 33-inch by 40-inch would be $75,000. Then it looks like we would be paying $20,000 for a small 100 person or less unveiling day, which runs about $200 per person. If
No,
that's-
no. Let me stop. I apologize for interrupting you. So 75,000 includes the following. It includes the original piece of art. It includes the unveiling day, the small unveiling day. It includes Eric's time to come out to Cheyenne, not only to do the concept piece, but also to then follow up and bring out the painting for the unveiling day, along with any puzzles that that the city does commit to. And it also includes the perpetual license. That's all for 75,000 fixed cost. The other 75,000 is for the puzzle commitment. Right now, the agreement is for 6,000 puzzles. That is a moving target. The city can commit to as many puzzles as they want or no commitment. That is not a firm cost. It comes down to what the city wants to do from a puzzle commitment standpoint.
Go ahead.
Chairman White, through you. I know that we have had council members who have sold ornaments to help the historic preservation group to fund the fountain and things like that. 6,000 puzzles is a lot of puzzles. And I don't know who's going to be selling them at the city. Or is the city clerk's office? You go in and you buy a license and you buy a puzzle. You buy one, get one free. I mean, I just don't think this is not a good fit for us, but that's my thought. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Aldridge. Any other questions? Comments from the public? Mr. Laybourne, Councilman Laybourne, thank you.
Game here. Yes, Mr. Chairman. So having been on the council quite a while, I certainly can't recall anything comparable to this. This is something that needs a lot more consideration. And the reason I make that point, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, is knowing artists, local artists, and their beliefs in promoting local people for local projects. I'm really wondering, when we talk about how this was discussed with Art Cheyenne, I'd like to know, is there some record of their approval or their understanding here?
I think it was just a initial conversation and Art Cheyenne was unwilling to commit.
Well, perhaps there are other artists in the community that aren't one bit shy about bringing forward these issues. And when you're talking about $150,000 and 6,000 puzzles that we are to sell, and I took a look at the exterior of the puzzle there and the folk art involved, especially in light of the celebration. If this is aimed at our community's, I guess you could say, participation in 250th anniversary, and I remember the 200th pretty well. There's a lot to it. I don't think that this is a good idea to be approving now. We're out a ways from it. There's no hurry. But to have this type of an approach as a sole sourced item is not a good idea. I don't know. I noticed that the city clerk by verbal or nonverbal action seemed to give me the idea that she didn't want to sell them. We don't sell things.
I think that was probably pretty good observation.
We don't sell things. We don't do that. And this would be a big step that I believe would end up with 5,527 puzzles ending up somewhere in some sort of storage. I'm not sure in today's culture how many people do those kind of puzzles anymore. I mean, I don't, though the games that young people and families play are on a computer. So I really suggest that you, at the minimum, postpone this and allow the artists of Cheyenne to discuss what they might do. And I would refer to those of you who might recall it or you've seen it over at the hospital. They have a really high quality mural that tells the story of the hospital. It's right there by the lunchroom. And it really is a high quality work of art. And of course, art is in the eye of the beholder. But I would suggest to you that the beholders of this particular project and the manner in which it came about need to be consulted. There's no hurry here. There's no reason to be looking at this that fast. And I just want to say, as a member of the council, I can think of many things. And I don't suppose you want to hear it, but I can think of many things that need $150,000 from what I understand to be coming from our general fund. Isn't that the source?
General fund reserves.
Let's think about that. There are substantial improvements that we can make or different things that we can do. But this is not ready. And so at the very least, you should postpone it and allow our artistic community to express their views of it. And I really believe you should just kill it right now. I certainly look forward to attempting to do that at the next meeting. We're not in the business of selling anything. And we shouldn't be in the business of selling anything. That's for the private sector. And as far as a large work of art, it's difficult to choose those type of things where one artist gets something and the other artist doesn't. But I believe it's entirely inappropriate to have a nationally recognized artist that does this on that basis for our 250th celebration and the display of that perhaps in the new and improved city building, but somewhere in the city. So this just isn't a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the public?
Yes, this is Wendy Volk.
Yes.
And I do have this puzzle I have several of Eric's puzzles. He grew up in Green River and is really a renowned artist. So he is a Wyoming artist, and I've done his Green River puzzle that he was commissioned to do for Green River. I would suggest possibly tabling this so that we could perhaps find whether there's a different entity out there that could also be a part of this. But I do think it's quite an honor. He sold 30 million puzzles. I don't know of anyone here locally as an artist that sold 30 million puzzles. But it is a fun puzzle, and it's kind of like finding Waldo I was able to find Eric Dowdle's art teacher, Rudy Gunter, who has since passed away, but it's really fun to find the things in the puzzle. So I just wanted to say, out of respect for this company, I think it would be quite an honor for Cheyenne.
Thank you, Wendy. Other comments from the public? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee? As there is no motion for this item will not have a recommendation at the next meeting of the governing body. There are no other items on the agenda, and this finance meeting is adjourned. Everybody have a great day.